My name's Lydia Williams and my mother is white English. She grew up actually just when the Mancunian Way was houses, because she was born in 1942, so it would have been the area that they called Little Ireland in the, like, so I'm presuming that her heritage is Irish because her second name was Beginner. So even though she's born and bred Mancunian, with her being born in that area and her grandparents lived there, I think like ancestrally, they would have come from maybe Dublin or something like that, I've heard. And my dad was from Clarendon, Maypen. He lived in the mountains and he came to Manchester in the Windrush era when he was 17. The story goes that he came to escape conscription. I don't know how true that is, because my dad died when I was 21 and I wasn't really into asking questions about my heritage when I was that age. But yeah, apparently he fled conscription and came to, I think first London and Moss Side, lived in Moss Side, and it's a predominantly white area, and moved in with a vicar and lived with the vicar a bit and then got kicked out, and then the saga continues. I grew up on Munsell Estate, which is a really tiny estate if you just go like 10 minutes north of Oldham Road. So it's very, very lower working class area. When my brothers and sisters were little and I was probably just born, my mum like was a dinner lady. She used to take part in like lots of school things and stuff, and you know, she was always there making fancy dress outfits, you know, like kind of had a time to be at home mum, but then by the time I was like in primary school, she had like 3 jobs. She couldn't do anything like that because it had changed then, because it was like Thatcher's Britain and everything was just going downhill. And it was it was obviously a really predominantly white area, very racist. My eldest brother, who's like 60 now, he really suffered. He got really bullied and he moved to Hume when he was like 16 and lost his hair and never looked back. But then my 3 other brothers all grew up together and there was a bit under, so then by the time I came along I didn't suffer nothing like that. Like, I'm not saying there wasn't racism, like covert racism, but it was never really any racist attacks or anything like that. We didn't have that, but it was very prevalent. I knew that I was different. It was like, we was kind of, like, my dad was a bit of a cool dude on the estate. Everyone used to call him Black John, unfortunately. But he was really well known, and my brothers were as well. So I wasn't really ashamed of my colour. Like, I didn't do that thing of like my brother used to come home and try and scrub his colour off and all that. I didn't go through that. You know, I used to wish my hair was straight on, that people didn't call me Platts Poo and stuff like that. And I remember seeing like racist graffiti and by someone that I knew, and it really hurt me because I didn't think that they was racist, because nothing ever got said to my face, and I was probably about 8 then, and that really hurt me. And it was very much a stereotyped ideal of what a black person is that I was trying to live up to in that area. They had an idea that, you know, yardies were these tough guys and black people was hard and scary. So, and because like my family had a bit of a reputation, I really, really tried to live up to that, even though I was it was all an act, basically. I didn't want confrontation, I didn't want to fight, but I acted like I did because that's what people wanted and that's what kept me safe as well. It's funny because when this project come along, it made me realise I've never really thought about mixed race heritage. I've always done the black history thing and the black culture thing, but I've never thought of what it means to be a mixed race person. And this has got me thinking about that. And it's weird because with that, it's given me less about an identity, but not in a bad way. Just being comfortable in my skin and not needing to name what I am for anybody, you know? I'd never heard of the tragic mulatto, but obviously I'd witnessed that stereotype, especially more of like the hypersexualized one and the sort of bullshit attitude woman. I remember this guy who used to know, and I was really feisty when I was younger, and he used to go, "Oh, there's a surprise, a mixed race girl with attitude," you know, and it used to really wind me up. And I think it wasn't that stereotype to me. It was almost like I just accepted it and maybe even took it on a little bit without realising. So watching those clips, it was like, God, look how brainwashed we are, and look how we get into the boxes that are laid out for us and think that they're not detrimental to us. So that's why being involved with these projects was quite confronting for me and brought a lot up, more than what I sort of expected it to. So the first 3 workshops, I'd say what was writing was really just all this painful stuff was coming out, and it was like if you put a microscope on something, then it's just all these offshoots and it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and it got quite overwhelming. I remember thinking, I've got nothing that I want to share. I don't want to share something depressing, and in fact I don't want to share something personal, because it was like there was too much. I could have done like a year with working on what was coming up. So I think it was the last workshop I decided that I didn't want to share anything what I wrote in the little notebooks that you'd give us, and it was almost like that was like a purge of all the stuff that was in the way. And I remember like Ella, saying, it doesn't have to be about the tragic Mulatta, you're not focusing on that. And it was like, but it felt like that's where I wanted to focus, but more or less in a way of, where is she now? What has she brought us to? What road has she paved for us now? And I think that's what my poem was about. It touched upon the stereotype, but it also touched upon how the tragic mulatto turned that stereotype around and used it for a benefit, and then broke everything down, and now we're starting again almost, It felt really weird, because, I was nervous, and I didn't feel like a performer. I didn't feel like a poet. I felt like a woman who was part of this project, It didn't feel like when I go and do an open mic, or when someone's asked me to go and perform somewhere. It felt completely different than that. I just felt like a woman who'd been on this journey with these other women and who'd wrote this piece. And I really loved the piece where we all stood up and said something together, because that just felt like so unifying, and it just signified the end of a journey to me. But not even actually the end of the journey, that's the wrong way to say it, because I was saying on the night, I don't want this journey to end. I want it, or if we do end it now, I want it to pick up again, because I just feel like there's just so much to be explored.